Hello everyone and welcome to another Project Cars discussion video where I'm going to be talking about the recent patches that we've seen to the game. Now, there has been a few patches that have come out since I last really went in depth and talked about the game in this way. We've had patch 2.0 and patch 3.0 and probably loads in between there as well that I haven't even been aware of. So forgive me for being late on this, but it was patch 3.0 that I looked at and it really did catch my attention, and it kind of made me go back to the game and revisit it, because there were certainly a lot of problems initially with the game and things that I didn't like or thought could be improved, and a lot of those things have been changed with patch 3.0 and improved. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Just to point out, the footage that you're watching in this race is the first time that I ever used the Mclaren GT3 car, and my god is this easy to drive in comparison to the others. I think this is going to be my standard GT3 car to use, because I just don't put enough practice in for any of the others, as I've mentioned in the previous video. But yeah, it should be a reasonably interesting race. It's not quite as bad as the footage that you saw in the previous one, and there's some replay footage in there as well. So I've got the notes for patch 3.0 and I'm just kind of going to go over a few of the main things here and explain a little bit about them and why I think they were important to changes and why I think it really helps the game in general, because although I'm not necessarily playing it as much as I mentioned in the previous episode, I do still have an interest in the game and I do still like to see improvements that are being made to it, and as with this one, you know, it kind of made me go back to the game and check it out. So one of the first things it's got, I'll obviously leave a link to the patch notes, the release notes for patch 3.0 down in the description so you can check it out for yourself, all of them. But there's a multiplayer spectate mode where you can sort of during a race retire to the pick box and then spectate the ongoing race. I know that's not a major thing, but that helps with people quitting out or something like that. If you have a nightmare, you can just then spectate the race and at least you're still in the lobby. Enhanced multiplayer vehicle grouping, which says that online racers now use real-world vehicle classes. This results in far better vehicle performance matching for online racers. Now, have we not wanted GTA to do this for years? All we've ever been going on about, I have made multiple videos of it, is how the class system in GTA for racing is completely broken. Now, I noticed that with Project Cars as well. There were certainly some cars that, you know, were much better in their classes than others, and it seems like they've fixed that now. They've got much better vehicle grouping for online multiplayer races, which is exactly what you want. You want to see games companies making these changes, realizing the problems that they've got and doing something to change it and make it better. So that's a definite positive there. Enhanced setup and pit strategy system, so players are now provided with information regarding the current and upcoming weather, remaining session duration, current track temperatures and more. You know, there was certainly a lack of information, I would say, with Project Cars, and you kind of very much had to do it yourself, but these things are being improved. That goes into the enhanced HUD and telemetry tyre info system as well, so you can see in real time which tyre compounds you've got, what the tyre pressures are straight away, how much each tyre is worn as well, which is a big one. A lot of people were complaining that they didn't know how much, you know, rubber they had left on their tyres or anything like that. I didn't necessarily think that was a major issue, because, you know, in real life you don't know how much your tyres are wearing. It's more about the feel. But you know, for a game, they've certainly put it in, which is great to see, because a lot of people aren't necessarily going to play it that much to sort of get to grips with the tyres for every single individual car and know when they're worn or anything like that. Where was something else I wanted to, the enhanced replay system. There we go. Players can now access photo mode from within a replay and can switch between cars during a replay. That's a big one for me. Being able to switch between cars during a replay, I don't know whether I've mentioned that in a previous video, but I've always wanted to do it. It seemed like such a basic thing to include that, you know, even back in Forza Motorsport 2, that had this feature in where you could switch between cars, so you could not necessarily just watch your own race, but watch the race from other perspectives as well. That's absolutely perfect now, and especially, you know, if I was really into this game and I was wanting to make really good replay videos, especially for, say, the Project Cars Online series. It would really help to be able to look at other perspectives as well during a replay. So it's great that they've now got that in, and the replay system does still, there is still things that can be added, but it shows that they are listening, they are trying to improve these things, and that's fantastic. There's a few things about force feedback and improved force feedback and improved weather systems and things like that. Again, I'll leave a link to all of this down in the description. A lot of online stuff with lobby choices and all that kind of stuff. Time trial improvements. There's pits and tuning setups and strategy improvements. Loads of different things. I mean, the patch notes for these have been really good. There's a lot of stuff there that they've really focused on, but the one thing that I do want to finish on, because there's too much to really focus in one game. Again, have a look at it yourself. If you haven't been on the game for a while, I would definitely check out these patch notes and see if it wants to make you go back on the game, because it certainly did to me, because there's a lot in there that really helps. But the one thing that I really wanted to talk about is the enhanced cut track detection system. And this is something that I was going to make a video on this before I sort of had that little bit of a break with Project Cars videos. I was going to make a video about, and I had mentioned it before in previous videos as well, how it's ridiculous how people can cut the track in certain areas. It was clear that there was a significant problem with that, and you've probably seen it during this race, that the cut track detection system is much better now. If you go off the track, chances are you are going to get a penalty, and that's exactly how it should be. It seems really good the way that they've done it as well, because it seems like the new system provides scalability, it says, in strictness across game modes. So the rules enforcement gets progressively stricter from free practice to race to time trial. So in time trial it's absolutely key. If you cut the track at any point, you are going to get a penalty. In a race, there might be a little bit of leeway to make up for a mistake or someone knocking you off. And then for something like free practice, there's a bit more of a replay, because a bit more of leeway, because it doesn't really matter. Lap times don't really matter in any kind of practice session. So it does seem to be fantastic, and the short amount of time that I had with the game in this video that you're watching now, and the previous episode as well, it seemed like it was so much better. Every time you went off the track, you got a penalty, and that's exactly how it should be. I couldn't believe some of the ways that people were cutting the track way back when the game first came out. You could just completely straight line some corners and you wouldn't even get a penalty. It wasn't as if you could straight line the corner and the penalty you'd get a penalty, but you'd make up more time than you'd actually lose from the penalty. You literally just wouldn't get a penalty at all. So it was incredible. That really did stop me getting interested in it, because I just thought, well, what's the point? And they've noticed that, they've improved it, and it does seem a hell of a lot better now, and much closer to being a proper racing game where you can actually go into a race and know that you're going to get a bit of a fair shout by just following the racing line and following the track. You don't have somebody who's just taking advantage of the system. So that's great, and there's a lot of different stuff here, GUI, HUD and telemetry improvements, replay improvements as I mentioned, control improvements. There's so much stuff. Check out the description, because I'll leave a link to the patch notes. If you've got any interest in Project Cars, if you own the game and you haven't been on it a while, have a look, have a read through that, and perhaps go back to it and have a go, because it certainly made me want to have a go. And it does seem like the game is much better now than it was when it was first released, where it did feel a little bit rushed and a little bit unpolished, if you like. So they are continuing with that, and that's great to see from Slightly Mad Studios, because I was very critical of them when they announced Project Cars 2 and they still had all of these issues. So they are doing a good job, and I can really appreciate that. So that's my thoughts on these patch notes. Obviously I'm a bit late to the party in general, but let me know all your thoughts down below. Are they enough to make you go back to the game if you have it, or whatever? Have you noticed an improvement in the game as well if you've been playing consistently? Let me know all your thoughts down below. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.